Ready to rock?
Yes, sir.
Road trip style?
Road trip.
Welcome back to Where the Wild Roam, and we're continuing our story about what we think is not just one of the coolest fish around, one of the coolest animal stories around, and that is the Spring Run Chinook salmon. In our previous episode, we were out on Butte Creek. It's kind of the last stronghold where wild Spring Run Chinook salmon are holding and spawning in big numbers. In that episode, we also learned about how salmon deliver this crucial nutrient supply to upper California watersheds, the same upper watersheds that have evolved for thousands of years in the presence of thousands and thousands of fish. And now, those numbers are gone. In this episode, we're going to be tagging along with Matt Johnson from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife while he completes a spawning survey. Spoiler alert, there's not many fish that we're going to find on Deer Creek. And remember, Deer Creek, along with Butte from the previous episode, and Mill Creek, the third one just north of us, are the only remaining undammed, free-flowing creeks that allow access to native salmon spawning and holding areas. Let's start with a quick background on both Deer Creek and Matt Johnson.
My job is to monitor Chinook salmon populations and to manage Chinook salmon populations in the upper Sacramento River Basin. So what I love about Spring Run and Deer Creek are they are wild fish in a truly wild place, in a part of California where we've lost a lot of wildness. One of my main areas where I work is in Deer Creek. And Deer Creek Spring Run are very special fish. Spring Run Chinook were listed as a threatened species under the California Endangered Species Act in the late 1990s. What is also very unique about Deer Creek, especially in context of California Central Valley, is there are no major dams on Deer Creek. These Spring Run Chinook have access to all of their historic spawning and rearing habitat. And that is not the case for the majority of Central Valley Chinook, especially Spring Run, where all of the major rim dams on the San Joaquin River and the Sacramento River and the Feather River have blocked access to their historic habitat.
Our wildlife cameras from last episode also caught a lot of this. Biologists in wetsuits, snorkels, and masks.
So the department and participating agencies, the U.S. Forest Service, National Marine Fisheries Service, we get a group together annually to snorkel the summer holding habitat for Spring Run Chinook in Deer Creek. And we snorkel about 25 miles of habitat. The first year I started the snorkel survey was 2003, and I've done it every year since then. And in 2003, our snorkel count was a little over 2,700 adult spring run.
In this 25 miles?
In 25 miles of Deer Creek.
Okay.
This year, tragically, we only counted 40 fish on our survey. Maybe we can revisit that snorkel survey, but we only found 40 fish snorkeling in 25 miles of creek. It's super sad.
I'm definitely gonna
yeah, and then 19 of those fish were in this upper 1.5 miles. So that's kind of why we're here. That's why I took you guys here to have a shot.
Yeah.
So this is probably the best opportunity to film, and this could be the last spring run in Deer Creek.
When we were out yesterday with Matt, we were in the upper reach of Deer Creek here, and we only saw 3 females on 3 reds, their nests that they build. We tried to film one, the prettiest. She had just begun her spawning cycle, and we couldn't even find her. She disappeared. We came back this morning and we saw her.
That's fancy.
That's how it happens too.
I don't know, it looks really funny. Yeah. What do you see?
Yeah, she's down there on her red. Kind of hard to see. She blends in with the rocks real well. And honestly, like this morning's experience, to watch her hovering around her red, and what she's doing is she's defending her red. You know, with the last of her energy, she's probably going to die in the next week. To watch her defend her red and to know what she's been through to get here, of the millions of eggs, possibly thousands of eggs, for them to hatch into juveniles, to go downstream to dodge, you know, a predatory fish, get in the ocean, they're dodging killer whales and bigger fish and sharks, then to make it all the way back up here, 300 miles from the ocean to this small mountain creek, to build one little nest and defend it with the last of her energy. It's beautiful and it's tragic. And the most sad part is we haven't seen any males. She's built her nest and she's waiting, and it may have been spawned already. She could be defending it, and she may be defending sterile eggs.
So salmon populations fluctuate naturally. They undergo boom and bust cycles. But since about 2016, Deer Creek Spring Run Chinook have really been on the brink of viability, meaning the numbers of fish returning aren't sufficient for this species to persist over time. They're really in trouble. On a return year of 40 fish, we're not looking at a viable independent population anymore. We are looking at what could be the last of the wild Deer Creek Spring Run, sadly.
Once Deer Creek collapses, Mill Creek's probably next. After Mill Creek, you're just left with Butte Creek. And if something happens in Butte Creek, there goes your independent populations of true wild spring run Chinook salmon in California. When we talk about restoring or creating salmon habitat, what are we usually talking about? Tearing down dams, right? Dams. God damn. That might not actually help the populations on deer and over there on Mill Creek. In fact, it won't help them at all because there are no dams. What does this situation with 40 fish tell us about the classic story of access to spawning habitat is the only limiting factor?
Yeah, the classic salmon story in California is the fish lost their habitat because we constructed a dam. On Deer Creek, there were no dams. These fish still have their same habitat. It's good habitat, it's cold water, it's the spawning gravel they need, but the story isn't complete. It's kind of like thinking of a tree. Upper Deer Creek is the upper branches, but the Sacramento River and Delta is the trunk. And the Sacramento River and Delta do not currently provide ideal habitat conditions for juvenile spring run. And that's why it sucks.
Like, it's tough to be a conservationist and not have your heart broken.
Yeah. Wild fish in wild places we need that connection. We need to still have that as people, to still have these places. And what I have tried to do in my career, much of my career has been on Deer Creek, is to maintain that legacy. So it's still here for my kids and their kids.
Where the Wild Roam is hosted by Joe Flannery.
My grandfather was a park ranger. My parents were both park rangers. I was the third generation. I've been lucky enough to spend my entire life outdoors, learning and working in conservation. And I'm excited to share that knowledge with you.
With Kyle Lancaster.
Lately, we've been getting into conservation filmmaking. We believe that a conservation ethic begins with education and understanding. Never stop learning about the natural world.
And hey, if you like the show, please support, share, subscribe, follow, like, and all that stuff. Let's start a movement that prioritizes wildlife, wild places, and conservation within our daily lives.